say he dying out here, got some heart. From a bad place, oh yeah. Tryna be a better me just for you. But it ain't easy, it's hard to get used to. Minding my own business, I'm not worried about what he do. Cause nowadays, all it is to be seafood. I always said this is that I'm staying around people. Finding my own path like I'm writing my own sequel. Two-faced people all around, they be evil. 2021, you can never trust nobody. Good and bad thoughts on my mind, they be crowded. Wishing you could pass his limits, then he see he bought it. Family work hard, but I never guess I'm from it. Came a long way in my dream, now I be drowning. Say he dying out here, got some hearts pounded. Multi-talented, my passion, I haven't found it. Yeah, in my home, I was never ever doubted. Coming from a bad place, oh yeah. Tryna be a better me just for you. But it ain't easy, it's hard to get used to. Minding my own business, I'm not worried about what he do. Cause nowadays, all the niggas that be seafood. I always said this is that I'm staying around people.
Yes, people. Good evening to each and every one. It's a boy JC Gov. I'm back again with more video for you guys. It's been a while since we do a stream. I got Kenny here with us, and I got Ty Chelsea Session here with us. How you guys doing?
Yeah, doing good, doing great.
Oh, let me turn my mic up, my sound up a little bit. Give me a second. All right, there we go. There we go. The Premier League weekend have been completed. Manchester United have got whooped at Old Trafford from the Tottenham. Let me start off with Ty. How you think
Sorry,
about the
can you hear
game,
me?
Ty?
Able to hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you now. Earlier was mine. It was my
Okay.
was down a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. This result is kind of interesting to me, especially with the fact that Tottenham haven't been at the greatest. They were missing one of those crucial players that they've had for over some years now. So it was kind of surprising that they were able to. And essentially, the only player that didn't score for them was Werner in the attack. Brennan Johnson, Solanke. Solanke has actually proven that he could potentially be a good signing for them. I mean, his in terms of his statistics, considering that the league is still in its early stages, he's actually doing quite well. And I guess for some people, they'll understand why Tottenham were so keen on getting him. So, yeah, it was a result. The game, obviously, to me, was anticlimactic to some extent. The fact that Bruno Fernandes, who's always been classified as a key player for United, ended up getting sent off in the first half. So, that in itself, it made it seem as if the match wasn't an even one. But at the end of the day, you have to give Tottenham their flowers and the fact that they were able to get the job done and get 3 goals and the 3 points.
Yeah, what you said, bro, is 100% correct. I was screaming for Manchester United, not to really lose, because I'm not ready for Ten Hag to really left the seat yet. I'm hoping that they after the Chelsea game, then they can do whatever they want, because a new manager bounce, would give at least a 2 or 3 games run, where they can give problems, because no one will figure that new manager out. So I'm trying to hope that they will keep him, in case, you know, um, they feel like, or they want to sack him. But give me 1 second, guys. Big up Marin, big up Rich Money Maker, big up the lovely Miss Rosie in the chat. Big up DZ the name. Big up YNWA 666. Big up each and every one that's here. As Miss Rosa said right here, hit the like button, guys, as you come in. We really appreciate it. So Ken, what are you saying, bro?
Well, the same like what he said. Tottenham played better today, which is kind of strange to see because normally you go to Old Trafford, you see Man U playing better than Tottenham in those type of matches. But Tottenham played really well. Bruno Fernandes getting sent off kind of impacted them a bit. Solanke great performance, great signing. But as it seems like Ten Hag is seeing his way out of the club and not, you know, he's like leaving because his recent matches hasn't been that great, not no great results. But I hope for the best for him. But Tottenham can Tottenham did great, and Manu can bounce back today after this game.
Yeah, that's a fact, and Menu can they can bounce back, but I don't think that Menu, to be quite honest, gonna be that prolific this season. Are being great in many different areas. The manager is just sticking to what he does best. For them, at least he gave them two titles, two cup win. The season before and last season. But I don't think he's good enough, to be quite honest, for the Premier League. I don't think he's good enough for Manchester United, but I would love for them to keep him because let it rain. The ship is sinking, and I can't wait for it to sink fast like the Titanic. So that's my humble opinion because the Manchester United fans, they've been taunting with us for a long time. Arsenal too. They've been taunting with the whole entire Premier League for a minute. So I don't mind that ship sink, to be quite honest. When we were in the gutter, they put us further down in the gutter. If you listen to all the Manchester United content creators, they have nothing good to say. They said they're the best team in England, but that was from Fergie days. So let that ship continue to sink, in my humble opinion. So guys, we're here. Big up Notorious Stash. Big up Blue Board Media. Chelsea Session. Ty, one and only. Let me see. All right. He's talking about Aston Villa, Ipswich Town. Who want to start that one? The Aston Villa Ipswich Town game, because that was a
I,
surprise.
uh,
No,
well, I went to see. I managed to watch the second half. I didn't catch the first half, but the second half, Ipswich Town, great performance. You know, class player Liam Dillop, great individual goal. You know, in terms of them from then coming to the Premier League, they have been a bit. They have been good. It's not like they're not they're not in the Premier League a long time, but since coming up, they have been playing very well, very very well. Today you saw it on the field against Aston Villa, and I hope to see more from them. I don't want them to get relegated. I want them to stay.
my brother Ty.
Yeah, I'm
Take
going to
over
be honest. I
take over for me for about 1 minute, 2 minutes.
No problem. No problem. Um, yeah, yeah. This result was actually quite interesting, in my opinion. Aston Villa, in terms of what they've been doing, they were undefeated for some time. So it was kind of surprising to me that they were held by Ipswich. Ipswich haven't gotten a win so far. They've drawn, I believe, about four times, and they've lost five or something along those lines. So in terms of a team that's coming up from the championship, just coming up just about missing out or winning the championship by 1 point to Leicester City, it it was surprising, but at the same time, I saw some level of in the past matches I would have seen of Ipswich, that they have potential, they just don't have the quality players that they may need in full strength. And if they could get some other players to come in, it's probably not going to be feasible for them in terms of financially. But it's a team that they have history in the Premier League. Obviously, they would have been out of the Premier League for quite a while. But with Aston Villa, and with what Unai Emery has been doing with them, especially with the fact that he's been able to attain such great success in terms of letting them get European Championship competition, under their belt. But I generally think that this was a match that it allows you to realize that the Premier League has evolved. On paper, when you look at this, you say Ipswich Town versus Villa. Considering what Villa have done since the start of the season, you'd expect that they would be the one that walk away with this game easily. And I'm sure that a lot of people have predicted that even a 2-1 win to Villa. Obviously ended 2-2. A brace family and deal up for Ipswich, and Morgan Rogers and Ollie Watkinson for Villa. But it shows to you that you can't write off the teams, the bottom teams, or the teams that you'd expect to be going down. After they come up, you can't expect that. It shows that football is evolving, and that the league is getting more competitive. Gone are the days when you could expect that you're facing off at 3 points. That's not how it is anymore. So it's a moment for a lot of fans, whether neutral or a fan of that respective club, to realize that football has come a long way, and that you have to work for the results that you're trying to get, and it's not going to be easy. So it's entertaining, and I always love when the underdogs are able to step up against the teams that are the favorites. So it's always good to see that. But yeah, this was a result that I was not expecting. I thought Aston Villa would have been able to get the job done, but it obviously wasn't the case. And they go with honors even.
Yeah, what you said. I have to 100% agree with you because of Ipswich Town is a team that was back and forth in the Premier League. In the early 2000. They were there for a minute, so I think they were out of the Premier League for about 20 years. So they were back and forth in the Premier League for a while, and then they did get relegated. And it's gonna come back later on in the show where I'm gonna say something about the Chelsea manager. One of the main reasons why, and like the Mikel Arteta, the disrespect that they get and the underrated that they get from a lot of rival fans. So it's not easy to really get promoted from that championship. So it's gonna be a hard one for Ipswich Town, but you see, Ipswich Town do got a fight in them, like a never give up, never die type of fighting. They continue, to always trying to find a way. And that kid, that Omar Hutchinson kid, was have a wonderful game with the striker, Delap. Very good combination between both. Hardworking team. I noticed something with Ipswich Town. They're gonna give a lot of teams problems in this season because of the way how they play. The way how they hard tackle. They not only that too. They always trying to stay compact. Even though they give away 2 goals, but you can see what they're trying to do, and you can see the work rate from the players. Like they're definitely trying to play to stay in the Premier League. So that's a big plus for them. The big game, the last game that played yesterday was Wolverhampton versus Liverpool. So Liverpool get a late winner from Mo Salah. So Liverpool to Wolverhampton, won. But I want to start with Wolverhampton. You guys take on it before we even go a little bit down in the game, because last season Wolverhampton was a hard team to beat, and this season seems like they cannot win a game. So I want to know if the manager, what you guys take on it, if the manager have been found out, because we all know the Premier League is unpredictable. So you can't keep up with the same style for 2 seasons in a row because you're gonna get found out. So I want to start with who should I start it from? I think Ty probably know more. So let me start with you, Ty. What you think about the Wolverhampton team? Do you think that they found out, or you just think that they're just not good enough?
Well, that's a very good question, and one that it gets you to think. You mentioned something about the fact that that they probably found out. I think the coach is Gary O'Neill or something like that. I think he received a lot of flowers on last season for how compact he made Wolves and how it was difficult, because even Chelsea would have known, what it was, what it's like to have to face off against Wolves in recent times. That the way that they've played it, you have to be trying hard to get that result. And with this match in particular, it signified something to me. Over the years, the Wolves team were known as being that team that is Portuguese. It's always Portuguese players that fills that team. Um, but in recent times, the quality has dropped. I think Ryan Ryan Eight Nordy or something along those lines, the left back that they have, and probably one or two other players are the only players that would have been in that era of when Wolves were that team that you look as a team that you have to really grind out results for. They're a team that would have found ways to beat your Man City's, Pep Guardiola's teams and all of that. But that's a different manager, and I think that in this situation, I believe the way that they're playing it's one dimensional. I believe that it becomes predictable, and when you're not altering, you're trying to push and push and push and push and push. Because even with that game, the goal that they ended up scoring was he started from a counter attack, and it reminded me of the old school Wolves, the Wolves that would have been that team that you have to really fight hard to get a win or get a result against. And the fact that their defense, the way that they play, that you commit so many players high, and I realize that a lot of these managers, they like to play with a high line where they push the back line up, and then you have the midfield just about sitting there. But when you have a team like that, and you have the midfield that, in all honesty, is not good, because the way they play was a 4-1-4-1. So if you use that sort of formation, it means that you have one sitting midfielder there, and you'd have some advanced midfielders. But in a situation like that, when you're playing and you have one midfielder isolated, you have that gap. And we all know that Liverpool, we've seen this under Klopp, and Slot somewhat has done it. You realize that they're able to swiftly get the ball through the lines. And if you have such a big gap in that midfield where you have players are more advanced, there's no support for that sitting midfielder. You're setting up yourself to constantly be hit on the counter. And we all know that Liverpool have creative players. They have an Arnold who is able to get those over the top balls. He's a creative fullback. So in terms of that, I think that the issue is that, he wants to play a high line. I think the Wolves manager wants to play a high line. He wants to have the team stay where they try to match the opponents. But you cannot do that if you're using a formation where it's solely a lone DM or midfielder, and you hope to match the team. It's not going to work. So I think that he's been found out, and it's very easy to find out a manager who uses a philosophy like that, where you have one midfielder that is recognizable as that sitting one, and the midfielders that are more advanced have to come and help him. But when they're out of position and Liverpool are able to get beyond that, and they have quick players, they have Salah, they have Jota who was playing as well, those players are gonna be able to find a solution. You have creative fullbacks, you have creative defenders, and you have a creative midfielder. That helps you in order to get beyond Wolves. So Wolves have to definitely change. They're not the team where you'd say, okay, it's not easy to get a result. Chelsea proved it. They pounced on the mistakes that were made, and they ended up putting 6 beyond them. And you think that a manager would try to alter his system, but when a manager is so stubborn and they're adamant that their system has to be this and they're not going to change it for nothing, you're going to constantly struggle. And I think that's the situation with Wolves right now.
Well, you said, bro. Well said. Well said. Ken, your thoughts on the same topic?
Well, Wolves. I would say, since the season, I haven't seen much of them. Like you said, the midfield are very poor in the midfield. They need to get players more in that position. And like you said, the goal they scored against Liverpool was not a great goal because it was a Konate mistake led to the goal. But when you watch that match, you see Liverpool making spaces, easily going around the defense line. Like, just making a way through. No matter, even though the players are marked, they still find a way. The defense line is a very, the two players in the center back position are just easily caught out. Always caught out those two players.
Well, welcome to the show, my brother Marin.
Yo,
You know,
big up,
welcome to the
guys.
show, bro.
Long time. Big up.
Quickly, like you just joined, what's your take on the Manchester United game and the Aston Villa? We're on the Liverpool one. So your take on Manchester United and Tottenham?
I think what I've seen so far, man, with Manchester United, yeah, a lot is going on. So, um, yeah, I think it's time. I think it's time for Ten Hag to leave. I mean, they gave him a lot of chances, man. 3 years. They gave him his players, the transfer as well. Like Ineos trusted him after the FA Cup victory. They gave him another extension. So, like, all of this is not good enough especially for the United fan base. It's not good enough. But at the end of the day, this is a game. Actually, this is a result that confirms that Ten Hag is not good enough. So I think they should, you know, um, go in another terms. And I heard like they're looking for an interim. So there's one or two people that are, they're focused on. Well, in terms of Tottenham, I'm actually surprised that Timo Werner had 4 shots on target. And yeah, man, Brendan Johnson, what a player. Well, I actually didn't see, you know, his caliber, but wow, what a player. So yeah, they were good. Tottenham, they were good, but look at that lineup against United. I thought United was gonna do better, but yeah, it's it's a hard time for you, Man United.
Yeah, your takes on the Ipswich game and Everton. Sorry, Aston Villa.
Oh, on the Ipswich game, I think we've both seen both sides of the team, especially Ipswich. The team. Who's this? Delap. So he's one of the players to watch right now in the Prem. So like Ipswich are looking like they look like they're going to survive, but like in terms of with the squad depth, like they need some players as well. So it was a good game, a good positive game, I could say. With Villa, yeah, man, like conceding again. I think Villa have problems conceding each game, and I think it all boils down to the center backs. Like I think they didn't recruit enough quality players during the summer, which they did, but they never, in some certain areas, they didn't recruit properly. So yeah, I think, but Unai Emery has a way to assess these players. Somehow, John Duran is now balling, guys, the player that we wanted. And yeah, bro, like it's crazy. And you know, if Villa continue like this, I don't think they will actually survive top four. Like in my opinion, the way they're playing, like they're playing good, but they're just conceding. So it's I don't think they will actually survive top four this season.
Yeah, Ty, I want to ask Ty a question real quick. What do you think about Duran as the Aston Villa striker? Because I know that today he didn't score, but Chelsea was linked with him all summer long. I think since January. And what your takes on the way how we start the season so far?
Um,
And I send you a message,
well,
Ty.
yeah, I saw the message. Yeah, right. So, all right. So in terms of what I think on him, I actually think that well, I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't too keen on him, but especially when we were linked with him in the summer. But how I am. I tend to do analytical videos, do analysis of the players that we're linked to, or other players in general. So when I did my research, I saw what he would do in terms of clips and looking at his statistics and how the stats doesn't tell the full story. I realized that he's still young, so that's the other thing. So it's not like he's 28 or he's behind in his development. He's relatively young. He's 20 years old. So the fact that he's such a critical impact sub for Villa, you can't dispute that his capabilities, his ability to get goals or to score goals with his head, get beyond players and use pace. I think he's a good striker, and for a 20-year-old, the fact that he's doing that, no, we all know that there's no guarantee in football these days. A lot of players get injured, and they never get to their highest potential. But if he's going on to the level that he is at right now, and he continues to progress efficiently and effectively, I genuinely think that he will be able to be a very good striker, depending on which club he goes to, because I don't think he stays at Villa for long. And Chelsea not signing him, I was kind of surprised, because it looked as if it was really going to happen. But it's the reality. We didn't get many of the options that we were linked with. Arsenal picking up the defender that we were linked with, that Italian defender, Calafiori or something like that. So, he's an impressive player. I don't know what Kenny has to say about him. I don't know how acquainted he is with the player, but what do you think? And big up to you, Mary, as well. It's been a while, man. I hope you're good.
Yeah,
But Kenny,
yeah.
what were your thoughts on Duran?
Well, only 9 goals since being at Villa. Not high or not high class, but he's a good striker. You know, I've watched a few games and saw him in it, just a few, not a lot. And the few that I've saw him in, he's been brilliant, a great player. But you just need to see him more on the pitch, like starting in the starting lineup more and those stuff. But that's a hard thing to do in the Aston Villa team with star striker Ollie Watkins. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's a good response, and I like the fact that you mentioned the whole fact of they have that star striker Watkinson, because that's one of the narratives that would have surrounded him not starting a lot of games or him coming off the bench. Because when you have a, a striker like Watkins who's been crucial for them, especially scoring a lot of goals for them, 19 goals and more in previous seasons, you can't, with a lot of logic or a lot of reasonings, explain why you drop him for Duran, which is unfortunate, but at the same time he's still young, and that's why I was saying that the fact that he has that capability, the fact that with the smallest of opportunity he can score a goal and be that crucial impact sub for Villa, especially in games where they may be behind or they want a winner. That is impressive. Not many strikers can do that, and it's rare to see somebody do that. But the only concern I would really have about him is, will he be able to get to the potential that he has? Because injuries seem to be hitting a lot of players right across non-stop, and that prevents them from getting to their highest to their highest potential. So I think that is something crucial. That's something that you have to consider. But yeah, I like the response that you gave in terms of the fact that his statistics, the amount of goals he scores, is not as beautiful on the eyes in terms of the amount of games he would have appeared in. But when you look at the matches, when you see his movement, you see the ability, and the fact that he allows the team to have that level of fluidity, even if Watkins comes off or if he comes on to accommodate Watkins as well. It's impressive. I don't know about what Marias says about Duran, or if he has anything or any views on the player. What do you think about the whole situation?
I think it is like for me, it's kind of like a blessing in disguise, like for because when we assessed him, right? I remember this, and I remember you made a video of him, Ty, and when we were assessing him, right? We were just comparing his stats and how his in game, um, his in game is, and how does it impact on the game. Then somehow, we just decided not to come for him, like then all of a sudden when the window closes, this guy starts banging in goals. Like he comes off the bench, but like he has an impact in the squad because because he's like one of those players, right? Like you need in a team because if a team is considering two goals, right, and you need one player that just gives a huge impact into the game, especially like the game that I had. I think it was when they were playing against Wolves or something, and they were like drawing 2-2. Then John just came in and he scored that wonder goal from outside the box. Like you need players like that. Even though he's like a goal scorer, like you kind of need players like that. And it's so frustrating. Yes, I didn't want him at first, but like when I kind of saw that, I was like, damn, we could have maybe put in a price tag onto him. But at the end of the day, man, like I could see there's an improvement. He should start because Ollie Watkins. Yeah, I think right now, I think they should give John Duran a chance and maybe see if Ellie Watkins can catch up to his game. But man, like I'm also actually kind of disappointed with John Duran. But yeah, he's an excellent player. Just wish him all the best, though.
That's fair enough. Fair enough. I suppose we can perhaps talk about the next match that would have been played in this match week. So I think the next match will probably be Chelsea versus Brighton. I'm gonna ask, just to shake it up a bit, change the order in which people are questioned. I'm gonna ask Myri, what are your thoughts on that match, the Chelsea Brighton match?
Well, it was a good game. I won't lie to you, very good game. I think we controlled the game in the first half, but the way we consider those goals was just silly mistakes. The players were just probably, I think some players had the ball. They were touching the ball too long. Then I think that's where we caused those silly mistakes, especially from the back. That's how we consider those two goals. But like I think first half was so amazing, man. Like I don't know why people were blaming like Jackson and Madueke and about that game in the first half because like when we were playing on the flanks, we were stretching their wing backs and somehow Madueke and Jadon Sancho were getting onto the ball on the flanks, and that was so good. I remember that disallowed goal when we had the offside, right? Madueke had the ball, then he transitioned to Sancho quick, just like quick game, and Sancho scored, and back to 2-0. And credits to Cole Palmer, man. What a gem. That's a generation talent, scoring 4 goals in the first half. Well, it shows that there are really some quality players that are naturally talented. So, man, I'm actually happy with this with the game. Second half, I think we were kind of slow. I think it's because maybe Maresca told them to slow the game down, close it down, and yeah, man, like I'm so happy about the result. Like even though we consider those 2 goals, there's still improvement to be done, especially from the bank. I think Sanchez, because we were at him. I remember, like last season, we didn't want this guy, and he kind of like showed a little improvement. He showed us like, okay, we can really trust him as our number one. And I think maybe we should give him a little bit of chances, even though yes, he caused us like those 2 goals, especially the second goal when he just gave the ball away. He tried to pass the defender. I think he tried to pass Cowell Fana. Then he gave the ball straight away. That guy just went into the box and scored. Like play like a type of play like that with Haaland and all those dangerous people, bro. Like you don't want that situation to happen. But I'm glad that it happened because he can learn from that. And yeah, like I'm happy for the result though. I'm really happy.
Right, thank you. Fair enough. Um, my question to Kenny now, as related to this match, because I really don't want him to repeat what you just said, Mary. Is I'm sure you'd have been aware of the fact that Brighton would have had a illustrious start to their season, and they would have been undefeated. They would have managed to have won two matches and drawn three. They obviously Brighton had a change of manager as Chelsea would have had. So this was a situation of two new managers, facing off against each other. First season with the team. You know, what would you say you've seen a difference in terms of the manager? Because when De Zerbi was the manager, then they played a certain way, but can you say that you've seen a difference in the way that Brighton are playing? Do you think that it's one that will work for them? Do you think that the fact that they would have been 5 games undefeated, if that was something that they should have looked at as a stepping stone in the right direction, that wanting the Zerbi gone was an ideal thing? What do you think about that, Kenny? Do you think that Brighton will be able to pick themselves up after losing that undefeated streak?
Well, Brighton. Brighton has been a great team for the last 2 seasons because the last manager they had, he did a great job. Brighton was a great team last season. And you continues to see it year after year. They improve more and play better. The current manager, it's not nothing new from what I've seen before with this team because it's a usual thing to see them be a good team. They have beaten bigger team in the Big Six. Many. They have done so much. But I think Brighton just they can come back from this match. This match was just a minor setback. You know, they uh, conceded 4 goals, defensive errors, a few passes off a bit. But other than that, they're a great team, great manager as well.
Okay, that's interesting. You mentioned that you've noticed that they've been a great team. They've been able to beat teams that are in the Big Six, the traditional Big Six. So that is fair enough. Um, well, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna be unfair and not give my thoughts. But yeah, as Mary would have mentioned, as Ken would have mentioned a while ago, the match in itself was one of testing to see what these managers can do. Because leading up to the game, the Brighton manager had a lot to say about Chelsea and positive things as well. And even after the game, when he mentioned Palmer. But the whole issue that I would have seen with both teams is the fact that mistakes led to the goals that happened. Both sides made mistakes. Chelsea conceded the first goal that they did from a mistake. It was a failed clearance by Caicedo, and he deflected off a player and he went back up in the air, and then the Brighton player just heads it um, beyond and outrushing Sanchez, which I generally don't understand what he was doing. But he did what he did. Levi Cole tried to stop it, but obviously he couldn't get to it. But yeah, both teams were actually showing that they have that attacking presence. They can be dangerous. They can be threatening. Mitoma disappointed. Maybe he looked as if he was going to give Gusto a field day. He got past him a few times, but he didn't really cause much threat in this game. So I think that Brighton have actually dropped somewhat in quality, but you have your off games. But both teams made a lot of mistakes. Chelsea pounced on the mistakes. Brighton did pounce on the mistakes that Chelsea made. And, even the second goal that Brighton ended up getting was from a mistake by Sanchez. So the issues are there, especially from a Chelsea perspective. But from a Brighton perspective, I think they can still, raise their heads high and say that, it's a new manager. The manager has given them things to believe that, okay, there's something that can be built here. But it's a lesson that they need to learn, and it's probably a reality check for them. Chelsea may get a reality check as well, because a lot of people are saying that they're in the title challenge, and I mean, I generally think they're not close to that. I think in order for you to be in that conversation, you have to have a more resolute defense, and I don't think Chelsea's defense is consistent or it's balanced. Fafana has been injured for 2 seasons prior, and he's coming back trying to find his foot back on playing consistently for Chelsea. Levi Cole is perhaps not the best period for him in doing that. You probably need somebody that's more experienced, take the pressure off him, because they will target that right side, for Chelsea more than anything, because they know Fafana is not the sharpest. He's still trying to get back up to that match fitness, and playing at the highest level. Levi Cole and Kukurea are more reliant on that side, because they have greater concentration, they have some chemistry. But with Brighton, they really showed Chelsea fans that yes, we were able to score goals. But when push comes to shove, you need to be able to, make the results easy for you to get, because the last 10 minutes of the match, it was very, very, very intense, and I think it didn't need to be. So yeah, there's a lot of things that both teams need to reflect on and try to work on. Chelsea made mistakes that were avoidable. Brighton made mistakes that were avoidable as well. The high line that they had, but it's positive from a Chelsea perspective that they were able to pounce on it, create opportunities, and the game could have ended 8-2, 7-2, anything. It could have even ended by a larger margin as well. So it's something that both teams have to really reflect on, and hopefully they will get better in terms of defending, or maintaining a good balance in their structure, because Brighton really need to work on that if they really want to keep pushing themselves and getting higher and achieving higher you know ranking in the table. So yeah, that's a valid point from both you guys, and I respect the fact that you guys are thinking open mindedly, and you're not going for the easy responses. But Kenny, I'm gonna ask you about this next match, Brentford versus West Ham. It ended in a 1-1 draw. Both teams having to settle for a point apiece. What do you think about this match? It was one that was, in my opinion, intense. What do you think about that, Ken?
Well, yeah, very intense. Few missed chances. Mikel Antonio missed a very sitter, simple, easy goal. He missed it. But regardless, two teams, two great teams, Brentford, and Brentford losing a key man, Ivan Tony, and West Ham. But two great goals, I would say. Uh, yeah,
Larry, what do you think?
Yeah, man, like you said, the Antonio Sita, bro, that was the biggest chance for them to, get the 3 points. But it was an intensive game, intensifying game, an end-to-end game. But I think both teams had a good strategy coming into the game. I think West Ham, they were going for it. Like, despite of their recent results, like they were really going for it. But at the end of the day, with Brighton's mid block tactics and the system, ever since they lost one of the key players, like they still have that system in a way of like they control the ball and the play, and sometimes it gets them good results, like especially this weekend. So yeah, man, fair play to them. And yeah, I mean, West Ham, they've been struggling, man, under Lopetegui. So yeah, it's kind of shocking, one of the elite managers, managing West Ham, and your team is not doing very well. So yeah, it kind of explains. But man, that was one of the matches to watch. I didn't watch the game; I was just watching the highlights, And yeah, and no, Miguel Antonio was supposed to score that goal, just seal the slate for West Ham, 3 points in the bag. But yeah, I think both teams can see that and maybe improve from from the defensive side as well, maybe from the attacking side too, especially Brighton, because I think Brighton, maybe Brentford, sorry, Brentford. I think Brentford are looking at probably like maybe strengthening the attack now since they lost Ivan Tony. Lion Bale now is probably like their own go-to man right now. So I think they just want to strengthen that. They did get players in, but it's the Premier League. Sometimes some players take time to adapt, and that's just how it is. But yeah, it was a good game. Yeah.
That's fair enough. Very much solid points from both of you. And yes, one thing that I heard, I think it was Ken mention, is the fact that there was a lot of mischances. When you look at the statistics at the end of the match, you realize that West Ham had a lot of attempts. They had a lot of opportunities and they didn't take it. Possession wise, Brentford were the one that were dominating the match in that sense. They had more passes, they had the accuracy was better. But West Ham, as I think Mary mentioned, they really pushed through. They tried to match up to Brentford, because Brentford are a team that have established themselves as a team that you can't give them too much space, you can't give them too much opportunity. They may not score lots of goals, but when things click, it will click. And the scoring in the first minute, it really shows the fact that Brentford, they may need a few players to really, be able to compete. But otherwise, from that, they are a team that have proven under Thomas Frank that they are a team that you have to generally look at and give admiration for, because they play good football. They don't score lots of goals, but yeah, it's a team that you have to show respect to, because they are able to cause an upset, especially against the top six teams. West Ham, obviously under new management as well, it's going to take a couple matches for them to get really sharp. I can understand um what the manager is trying to do, but it's still very new to a lot of these players. There's certain players that haven't really lived up to the expectations. Obviously, as Mary mentioned, they got signings. Somerville came in for them. That's one player that they would have signed, but he hasn't really impressed in terms of finishing. He's showed that he has technical ability. He can do a little flair and do tricks here and there, but that doesn't get you goals, and you need goals to win matches. So I think there's a lot of things, and it's the season is still very early. A lot can change. A lot of players can prove to be a vital player for them. But yeah, they have a lot to work on when you look at it, and they have to work on getting more goals. But you need to score goals, and if you don't score goals, you're not going to get the win. So they have to work on sharpening up their the opportunities, and they had to for a draw. They could have won the game, and the game was there for the taking. Right. So I think Rovers FC is asking a question here. It says, question for the panel: who will win the Premier League and your top four? That's a question that I think a lot of people would give different opinions on. But I'm gonna find a way to deflect this question to somebody else, because I generally need to think about it. I tend to actually assess things before I say anything. The season's still too early for me to say for sure. Ken, who do you say is going to win the Premier League, and who do you think will be the top? Who will make up the rest of the top four? Do you think Arsenal will finally be able to, to get the job done? Third time lucky. Do you think that's going to be the case? Do you think that they will be able to kick Man City off their high horse and let them realize that they're not the same team that are, even though they've won the league back to back, they're not the same dominant team, and that they can be knocked off the high horse that they're currently on.
Well, that's a strong question. Uh, yeah, I see Arsenal winning the Premier League because the season is very early, but still, since the start of the season, you have seen them come back from a draw 2-2, won their match 4-2. Saw them against City, brilliant performance. Uh, yeah, but for the rest of the top four, I would say City second, Liverpool third, and Chelsea fourth. Yeah, that is where I
Yeah,
see it.
yeah, fair enough. Mary, what do you think? Do you share the same sentiment as him? Do you think Arsenal will finally get the job done?
Um, yeah, hey, Ty, like you said, for it's really difficult to analyze it right now, man, because like it's too early. For me, I assess the games within 10 to 15 games to see how the team is really doing. But um, what I've seen so far with Arsenal, I think they have a chance if they get the main players in correct. Like if they get Odegaard in shape, all the main players, and not lose one of the two players, I think they have a really good chance of winning the league. In terms of Man City and Liverpool, I think those two teams, they have good quality players around them, and yeah, since Chelsea now have already jumped into the topic, this is going to be an interesting, campaign. So, um, I think maybe Arsenal have a chance, and because of the recruitment, like they recruited from the back. Like I was also shocked that Arsenal never bought some attacking players. They did, but like, and they never made good improvement from the attack. But as you can see, like the way they play, everything is structured, and the way they kind of want to implement the football out there, maybe to win the Prem. I think now it's the third season for Arteta. Yeah, I think they have a chance, but like you said, Ty, like we have to see and wait and assess and see how the Premier League is gonna go to. You never know, man. After 15 games, Liverpool is on top, or maybe Chelsea can be on top. So yeah, that's just how Premier League is.
I think I've gotten enough time to make a decision or to come to a conclusion. I it really pains my heart to really say this, but I think both Ken and Mary have made some valid point as to why Arsenal could potentially win the league. It's I've actually seen a progression in terms of what they've done. They still have their shaky moments, yes. Obviously they conceded two goals. They were, it looked as if they bottled it. Leicester City getting two goals. I think one in the latter stage Justin got the brace for Leicester. But yeah, it's I generally think that they may be able to do it. I mean, that it's important that when you face off against the team that is the king, well, obviously they didn't manage to get a win. It was a even match, but they were able to match up to the team, and it takes a team being able to win the games, even if it's dirty, win the match, get the 3 points. It doesn't have to be pretty. The most important thing is that you get the points when you need it, and if you don't get the points, you cannot surpass City. And I'm sure lots of fans know that City tend to have a little slow start to the Premier League, and then perhaps in December, no, late November, December period, they start to grind out results, winning matches, and getting 3 points. So I think that similar to what Arsenal would have done, they were able to push the gap between them up until the final match, where unfortunately they weren't able to get it over the line. But in comparison to the season prior to that, where they were leading and then they bottled it, and then they end up having to settle for second. I think they actually may have strength in the areas that they need to. Perhaps they still need some work. But I think in terms of getting a good defender in Calafiori, I know that he's had some injuries as well. So perhaps that will hamper, their capabilities for now. But they have good defenders still. I just think that they need the competition in that defense. And I also think that they'll be able to do it. As a Chelsea fan, I'm not really happy to say that my rival is going to win the league, but I have to be realistic and I have to give Arsenal their flowers. They've actually progressed quite well under Arteta, and I think that this season may be the season where they're able to look back, reflect on the fact that they were just about robbed of. Well, I don't use the word rob, but they just about missed out on winning it just by a margin. So I think in that sense, I think this is the season where they're able to fix those issues, and they've had a good start to get themselves in that conversation for winning the league. But it's going to take a lot of work. As I said, the season is still early. A lot can change. Many things can change. But I think they will win the league. In terms of second, third, and fourth, I have to say that I think Man City will. I will disagree slightly with what Ken said about third and fourth. I think Liverpool will finish in the top four for sure. But I have to be. I'm gonna have to be fair here. I'm gonna say Chelsea finish third. Liverpool. I think it'll be close between Liverpool and Chelsea. I really do think that. I think that would be crucial. I think it will be a contention between Liverpool and Chelsea for third and fourth, and I think Chelsea may just about do it. Just even if it's by the smallest of margins, I think they will. I know fourth to be Liverpool. It's not. So I'm not trying to be biased. I promise you that. I just think that in terms of Liverpool still needing to strengthen some parts of their system, and Chelsea's progression being quicker than expected, I think that may give them. Obviously, injuries are another thing to consider. Chelsea have been very unlucky with that. So if they stay injury free, the injuries are at a lesser extent, they may be able to do it. They were close to doing it last season. So why not do it this season when the players that were missing are available now? And the squad is better in terms of competition and versatility and flexibility. So I think that will be able to get them over the line. So I think that's the top four. I hope you're satisfied with the response to your question. Rovers FC, I think. Yeah. There's another question here. Let's kick. Asking about Cole Palmer, if he's the best player in the world right now. I'm gonna answer this first. I don't think he is. I mean, is he one of the best young players in the world right now? I would think so, but I don't think he is the best. And I can't take away what he's done. He came in last season for Chelsea. A lot of people wrote him off, saying that Mason Mount was sold to United and Cole Palmer is coming in. He's not played for Man City like that consistently, and to be making such a big decision, taking such a risk on a player like him who's so young. And he silenced his critics. He won things as well in terms of personally. He's on form, as Rootless Kick is saying. That's true. You can't dispute that. He's 6 goals in 6 matches, 6 Premier League matches. You cannot look beyond that. 4 assists in 6 games in the Premier League as well. It speaks for itself. I think he's one of the best. I don't think he's the best player in the world right now, but he's up there as one of the best. I hope that answers your question. Mary, what do you think?
Yeah, spot on. Like you said, I think he's one of the finest young players so far, but I don't think he's the best. Because there are certain players that have reached to that caliber yet. Some players don't even play in the Premier League. There's one that we all know who's the best, young, and as well, like we can't also leave out Bukayo Saka in that picture because what he has contributed in the Prem and for Arsenal as well. And there's also other young players that we can talk about, But right now, I think because he's on form. Yes, he's one of the finest players, but I don't think he's one of the best players so far. But when he improves, and that's when Chelsea starts winning trophies and all that stuff, then that's where maybe we can have a debate saying maybe Cole Palmer is one of the best players. So yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Ken, what do you think? Do you think that what me and Mary would have said it's false? Do you think that what Mary just said about Bukayo Saka being in a being higher on that list as it relates to the better player? Do you think that that's the case? What is your thoughts on the question that Rootless Kita asked?
Yeah, like Mari said, Bukayo Saka, class player. You know, did so much for Arsenal over the years since making his debut up to this moment. Cole Palmer didn't really get a lot of time to shine like that, like Bukayo Saka. Not really getting enough games for City last season to this season. You know, his first season he only played 4 games. No impact, nothing. The only time you have heard of Cole Palmer was when he was playing in like under 21s or stuff like that. But now, since going to Chelsea, he has been a class player. I'll put him up there on the top players ranking, but just not number one or two. He's just not in the top 10 as yet. But he's getting there. Class player. Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I guess we can go back to discussing the matches that are left. I think there's about two or three left. Um, I think the next match will be Everton versus Crystal Palace, which would have taken place, I believe, yesterday. Yeah. Everton just about winning 2 goals to 1. Dwight McNeil getting the 2 goals for them, and Mark Guehi. Oh my God, talk about Mark Guehi. That's Chelsea, man. Mark Guehi getting the goal. And, Crystal Palace were the one that would have got the first goal in this match, and Everton were able to turn it around. I'm gonna start with Ken. Um, what do you think about this match? What do you think about Crystal Palace? They've actually they would have had a brighter end to the season last season, but obviously they haven't had the greatest start so far. Otherwise,
Yeah, Crystal Palace has always been a team, the underdogs, but always tend to prove people different. Since losing class player like Michael Olise, you can see it affecting them now. Big time, very, very big. Because when watching Crystal Palace, I can watch and say, yes, that player is going to do this, that player is going to do that. I'm not saying they played bad. They played a good game, but unfortunate, Everton was just the better team in the end. Dwight McNeil, great goal, you know, great player, a matter of fact. Yeah,
all right. All right, so Mary, what's your thoughts on this? What do you think about Everton in particular? Everton were reflecting on 2 seasons ago with what Everton would have been doing, the trajectory that they would have been on. What do you think about that? They've been in a similar boat to Crystal Palace. They're higher than them by in 2 positions currently, but they're somewhat even in terms of results, albeit Crystal Palace have lost less games than they have. But what do you think about this match? Do you think that you know Crystal Palace were the team that should have won? Do you think that they deserved it? Because in terms of looking at the shots that they had on target and the total shots that they had, Crystal Palace were the ones that created more. They had more possession and their passes were more than Everton. So what do you think about this match in particular?
Yeah, great question. Because just coming back to Ken's point, like with Crystal Palace, you can see how it's affecting them when you lose a quality player like Olise, because you can have a lot of shots on target, but if they're not converted into a goal, then it becomes a problem. Each game in, game out. Crystal Palace, you saw it with Man United last week. You know, when Esse had an opportunity, he had two chances to bury the game, and he missed those. You know, and it's one of those things where one team they can get so many chances and not convert them. It gets frustrating for the players. But I think uh, the direction itself, they kept it so fluid because Crystal Palace, they're not roundabout of like building at the moment. They just want to survive in the Premier League and play a top quality football. So I think where Crystal Palace is heading, I think they are trying to figure things out in terms of bringing new, youth as well. Trying to maybe bring another Michael Olise in the picture, linking up with Mateta and Ese. So, like, I think that has to, it takes time. All those things take time in a football club. And coming back to Everton, like, like I mentioned with youth, Jared Brightwaite, what a player. He had a good game. Yes, he had a positive game. But one or two things from Everton I've picked up is that some of the players they kind of average. You can see they can give you a game in game. Next week they'll give you a good game. The other week they give you an awful game, and it just boils down to the type of recruitment they have, and maybe the chances are for them to add more players into the picture. Maybe it's slim because already now Sean Dyche is already thinking about dropping Jordan Pickford because of his performances. So yeah, Everton, because the way they've been moving and after the project failed with Ancelotti, I think they are trying to like bring in also the youth. Same with Crystal Palace, bring in the youth, develop them, then maybe get a chance to go further, maybe higher onto the table and compete in European competitions. But those things take time for uh, clubs like Everton, Nottingham Forest, and all that. But yeah, it is what it is, and with Everton, they just have to continue to play, and maybe they'll get some instant results. But yeah, I think it's been a tough road for Everton so far.
Check your phone, Ty. I'll be back. I'm gone
Yeah,
again.
yeah. Oh, I was about to say that the man is back, the man of the hour, literally the hour, because the shows has just about surpassed the 1 hour mark. I was gonna say that the man of the hour is here, but yes, yeah, you've both shared some valid points. Both teams actually, they shared similarities in terms of they can give you one good, beautiful game, one match day, or in a specific match, and then the next you're wondering if this was the same team that would have performed the way they did in the prior match. So, so yeah, both teams, I I secretly, you know, actually decide to watch these matches more because in relation to Everton, for example, because I was actually impressed with the work that I would have been seeing from the manager in particular. So so yeah, you guys shared some valid points. Obviously, as Ken mentioned with Crystal Palace, losing a very vital player in Olise, it doesn't help things. Obviously they have Nketiah there who, he didn't really have the greatest of games. Obviously they would have made some signings as well. Both teams made signings, but it is, it's just, it is what it is. Hopefully they will be able to find better, better results as they progress through the season. But yeah, this was a match that, I would say that it's a tale of two stories. It's a tale of both teams just really trying their best to you know live past the days of having certain players in their team. So it's gonna take adjustment, especially some adjustment for Crystal Palace, especially losing Olise. But I think they will be able to find a solution eventually. But it is important that they find a solution as quickly as possible because the more that the longer they take, the more they're gonna start suffering more, in terms of creating opportunities but can't finish their dinner. So yeah, that's a valid situation in particular as well. I think that should be, well, no, there's actually, I think there's another match that I'm forgetting. I think that's 9 matches that were discussed. Yeah. Oh, did we mention Man City Newcastle? I think we didn't.
No, no, not at all, not at all.
Oh, right. There's another match that hasn't been played yet. I think it's Bournemouth Southampton. Right. So yeah, City. Yeah, how could forget about City Newcastle? These two teams, went neck on neck. This match was supposedly entertaining. I didn't see the match in any shape or form. I know who scored goals for them, but I wouldn't. I'm not going to pretend and sit here and say that I watched the game. I know this was it because I'm not. I didn't see the match, so I want to depend on Ken and Barry to give some insights on that match in particular. But looking at the statistics that I'm seeing right here, it's not much of a difference. City had a lot of shots, had a lot of chances on target, but the score line was just 1-1 each. Oh, sorry, I didn't say specify which one to speak. I'm gonna ask Mary to start if he's still there.
All right, no problem. I think Newcastle came into the game with a game plan because the way they were sitting at the back, I think because yes, they were home ground, but I think playing that mid block with City kind of actually helped them with that draw. Because at first, City in the first half, they were attacking, bringing the ball into the flanks. You see Greenish cutting in and all that stuff. And well, they were creating chances very well. And what Newcastle did, they decided to use the pivot midfielders to hold the ball, so that Man City doesn't have control of possession. Because Man City, what they did with Arsenal last week, they did that control possession, fast movement, attacking wise, just get it to the flanks, get the ball in and score, right? Which led into that 2-2 draw. And with Man City right now, it looks like they're using that same tactics, they're using that same formation without Rodri, like putting in more midfielders, more compacted midfielders to, drive into the box and maybe create more chances. See, the likes of Gundogan was trying to create more chances, but either way, Newcastle was sitting very well at the back. Defenders were very good. Spot on by Anthony Gordon. What a goal, man! I think this guy is the one of the players I feel like maybe we were linked back then with him under Tuchel, but this guy, I think, to my eyes, he's becoming one of the finest young players in Premier League. So that was an interesting game to actually assess. Didn't watch a lot of it. I watched the second half, and yeah, man, like Newcastle, they were sitting back. They were also creating chances, but the way they came into the game, they were so prepared for it. I think they felt like, if you hold back to Man City with their attacking style and maybe get a draw or get a win, and that will do. And they ended up getting a draw. So big up to Newcastle. With Man City, I think Pep what Guardiola could see, there's a lot to for like a lot of improvement has to be done in the wing and in the wing in the flag, sorry, because right now I think one or two players they bought, they haven't been excellent. Jeremy Doku started from the bench. Greenish started this game. He looked excellent, but yeah, he's a bit rusty. But yeah, I think City they had some control. You can look at the stats. They had many shots on target. But hey, like I said, you can have so many shots, but if you don't convert them, it is what it is. And with Haaland, like I was also shocked, like the way they defended Newcastle. The defenders defended Haaland. it was shocking, yeah. But it was a good match, and yeah,
Right. So the man of the hour is back, but I'm gonna let Ken give his insights because I think he's just been sitting there waiting to go. So Ken, what do you think? And I'm gonna make it difficult for you. Myri mentioned a lot of things in his insight. So I'm gonna ask you this. You would have shared that you think Arsenal are gonna win the league. So what do you think? Based judging from this match in particular against Newcastle, what do you think um will be the margin that you'll have that will allow that gap to be formed between Arsenal and City that will allow Arsenal to win the league and Man City? What difference have you seen? What do you think City are lacking that will make them just about not be able to retain their crown as the Premier League champion?
Well, you have to see it. You know, you see our City what drop what 2 points. You have seen it now that City in certain matches you have seen the defense line fall apart. You know, this game though, in particular against Newcastle, Holland silent, no word. You haven't seen Holland that much on the ball, nothing. What you saw it against Arsenal, then I come say it again, Newcastle. Arsenal just had the ball most for the first half and second half. City came in dominated, but you always have the teams with a good goalkeeper, and the goalkeeper always keeps their team in the game. That's what I saw against Newcastle versus Manchester City. And there won't be a big margin of Arsenal winning the Premier League over City. I think it's gonna come down to the last 5 games or so. That's when I really see the Premier League coming to a finish. Last 5 games or so.
Interesting. The last 5 games. Okay, right. Okay, that's I hear you. That's a valid point. If I'm being honest, I think one thing because you mentioned the defensive line being an issue. It's not as resolute as it would have been in the past. Players like Ruben Diaz, who was deemed as one of the greatest defenders in the Premier League, especially in his debut season when he signed. So yeah, that's a valid point. I think the injury of Rodri perhaps could be an issue for them. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but did they have De Bruyne as well? Well, no, I
no,
don't
De
see
Bruyne was
him
out.
here. No, he's not.
De Bruyne was out.
Right,
De
he's
Bruyne
out.
was out.
Right, so he
Yeah.
was out. So in terms of that, you're realizing that the critical players, Rodri, um, well, De Bruyne would have proven his importance for many seasons for them. And as you mentioned, Ken, Haaland was very much absent, and it speaks to the fact that people give Haaland his credit. Yes, he can score goals, he gets a chance, he's able to convert it. But in terms of what he does overall in matches for Man City, he does nothing. So if he doesn't score a goal, you realize that he doesn't add much value to the team. So, and I know people say that yes, he scores goals. That's the best thing you'd want from your player. But in a situation like that, and I can't take away the credit that he does have for getting some assist as well. But the fact is, the role that he's had, considering the fact that he's been at the club for the third season now, is that he's supposed to put the ball into the back of the net. He doesn't have to touch the ball a lot of times. He doesn't need to be a part of the build up. And the way that City plays, not a case where they try to work the ball into the net. They will have the ability to score goals from the edge of the box. They will get the ball to Holland. But I think he made a valid point about the fact that Holland has really been the same. The the belief that people have had that he's gonna walk the league in terms of scoring goals. And fair enough, he's scored a lot of goals already in the Premier League this season. And I mean, one game probably won't change that. But it does show you that, even in the aspects of being a critical player for them, even if he doesn't score a goal, being influential this season, especially would have seen a match when they played against Chelsea and even the preseason matches. It's just a case of, you don't need to worry about touching the ball 20 times in the last 5 minutes. As long as you get the ball and you make that one touch and that one touch leads to a goal, not a problem. But yeah, you made a valid point there, Ken, and I think it's fair for me to hand back over the mic to the one and only Garvin.
Sorry, I was still mute. I want to say, guys, thank you, for everyone that's watching and everyone that hit the like button, even though we can do a little bit more better on hitting the like button. And guys, please remember to subscribe because we haven't talked about that as much on this channel because we just like the conversation. And once we jump in, we just jump in. But I really appreciate everyone that's watching, and I want to say thank you to Ken who make his debut on the GFC Garvin YouTube channel. And Marin is one of the first one that ever come on this channel, one of the first panelists. Sometimes he don't come on as much as usual, but when he come on, he always, hit the nail on the head, straight facts. So and I want to say thank you to my co-host, Ty, Chelsea Session. Guys, please go over there and subscribe. If you want to learn how to break down games or players technical wise, like that's the place to be. But this is the Premier League Top 8 show. A show that we want to do. I'm gonna start to do every week. The top 8 because everyone is doing the top 6. But I don't know about you guys. I want to hear you guys' opinion on this. I think the Premier League moved from top 6 now. It's the top 8 in my humble opinion. I think that's 8 team that can challenge for the top 4. Only probably a few teams in there that will challenge for the title. But I think it would be unfair to say the top 6, like the big 6 that you normally have, your Chelsea, Manchester City, Manchester United, Arsenal, Liverpool, and I think Tottenham. But now we have to move away from that because of the competition, the rivalry, the what's billing in for the Aston Villa and the like of Newcastle. In my humble opinion, I think is a top 8 rivalry right now. What you guys think? Start with Ty.
I'm happy that you started with me because I was actually rearing to go when you said that because especially I agree with what you just said about about it being top 8. I've always thought that the traditional top 6. I would have said that I believe that even the traditional top 6, the historical top 6 that you mentioned them, I think that will be altered. I think some teams will probably drop off the wagon a few times in seasons. Chelsea obviously would have been a team like that. And it gave the opportunities to a Newcastle. And you mentioned teams like Newcastle and Aston Villa, and it reminds me of the fact that when Newcastle were about to get taken over, I said, you know what, they this may actually be positive for them. They haven't gotten to perhaps where they would have wanted to in terms of the investments and players that they've signed, but they've been able to play good football. So I think what you've done here it's a good thing because it's not the traditional 6 teams are challenging for top 4 anymore. It's actually 8 teams, and I could argue that there's going to be another one soon because a lot of teams are getting taken over. But I realized that the traditional 3 teams that are guaranteed to be in the top 4, then you have probably one edging it to get 4th. It's not like that. You have 4 teams that you would expect, and you have 4 teams that are trying to be that dark horse and coming in. And Villa managed to do that. Newcastle were able to do that about 2 seasons ago, I think. So in terms of that, yeah, it's a good initiative. It's unique, it's different, and it actually takes into consideration that football has evolved. The Premier League is not the same anymore. And the teams that you'd expect to just remain mediocre are actually looking to get back to where they were, the historical ones, like a Villa who are trying to get back, into the picture as winning trophies. Newcastle as well, having history of being a team that would have been in the top 5 and all of that before that. So, it's good. It's a good initiative, and I think that it makes sense. And if you're able to do it every week, it would be a good one word to give insights. And I want to say that you made a valid point about the individual that sits just below you on the panel. Yes, he hasn't been on the channel as much as he once was. He's one of the OGs. I came and saw him here, so I can't take away his that from him because he's an OG. But as you said, whenever he comes on, whether it's even though it's not as often as it once was, he always speaks facts. He spits facts, and I respect the way that he he gives the insights. He speaks the truth, and he doesn't shy away from giving his opinions, and that's respectable. And it's always good to share the panel with him as well. And Ken, especially, it's good to see him make a debut. And he answered questions well enough, but long may continue.
Who want to take the reign, Mary or Ken?
All right, okay.
I'll go.
All right, okay. You can land, Ken.
No, go ahead.
Now go ahead, bro. Go ahead. I'm giving you the floor, bro.
Like I said, the top 8, you normally, but I wouldn't say it's mainly the top 8. Remember, now you have teams competing for Europa League, Conference League, Champions League, and then you have teams competing for the title. There's so much difference. So the top 4 competing for a Champions League, you have some teams fighting for that Champions League spot, not the title, but the Champions League spot. You have to win the FA Cup in order to qualify for the Europa League if you're not in a spot. And yeah, that's why I say it's not about the top 8 fighting for the league, but fighting for a spot in Europe.
Yeah, the reason why I said top 8. I'm not saying all the 8 teams are fighting for the league title, but you got 8 team that can finish, from I think probably third down to 8. So it's not saying that they're gonna challenge for the title, but any one out of those 8 teams can finish in the top 4 for the UEFA Champions League. So that's why I really say top 8 teams. So that doesn't mean that the rest probably gonna challenge Man City or Arsenal for the Premier League at this point in time. But the way how the Premier League is growing and the way how these teams are advancing, probably the next year or two, remember, Arsenal haven't won the Premier League for what, 20 years, right? Liverpool didn't win the Premier League for 30 years or 31 years when they won it. So it's you can see it's a gap. Chelsea haven't won the Premier League for 8-9 years now. So you can see that teams gonna be rise and teams gonna fall. So along the road, you're gonna always have a team. The way the Premier League is getting strong, as Todd said earlier, probably it's gonna be 9 or 10 soon because other rich owners are taking over, the team. So you're gonna have more team competing, to be up in the top 4. So the top 4 is not going to be that easy, for the regular teams that normally go there and sit there for years and keep on being there. You're going to have team falling in and out of the top 4 because of the strength and the depth of the teams in the league. So that's what I mean when I said the top 8. It's not necessarily they're going to be challenging for the Premier League title. It's just the strength that these teams are getting right now and the depths that they have. Your Aston Villa got a striker that come off the bench, he can score. Got a striker on the pitch, already can score. So the depth that Aston Villa have now, back in the days, you want to see a like of Aston Villa have so much quality off the bench. The same thing with Newcastle. So teams are growing, teams are building to reach to that point. So probably we're gonna have to start to say the top 10 because any one of those top 10 teams can finish in the top 4. That's exactly what I meant. Oh, you can give your response, Ken. Go ahead, and then Mara
Oh,
can come in after.
oh, yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I get an understanding, but yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, I think what Calvin said was actually spot on because I also think it in that way. Like, I think we should mention the top eight because, like, the takeover as well, like, club owners coming in, takeover is happening. It's not only Newcastle, Villa also doing the thing. Brighton, guys, you can't forget Brighton bringing in Wonder Kids, Adingra, um, what's his name? One of the guys that are what's his name? He's from Argentina. I'm not sure. And you have the likes of Ruta now coming in the season, and also one of the players they signed from Netherlands as well. So Brighton have been looking, bringing up young players and developing them, and also as well you can see what Brentford have been doing so far in the league as well. And I think like we could actually say top eight when we comparing it in that manner of takeover, how the squad is right now in terms of the teams that I have. You could see now. Back then, Newcastle would never have type of players like Sandro Tonali or Bruno Guimaraes. Quality players that are going to Aston Villa, Newcastle and all that stuff. It just boils down. It grows. The competition is getting higher, so it kind of makes sense when we say now we should focus on top eight instead of top six now, because one of those days we can have Wolverhampton be up there, challenging for European competition. So yeah.
Yeah, want to say any final words, guys? Before we end the stream, because it was a wonderful stream. It's good to be back, and I hope we can do this every weekend, every Sunday, like we normally used to do, Marin. Not that long because I know that it time. So we're trying to do it like at least in an hour, hour and a half. Every weekend. So any last words for you guys?
All right. I just wanted to say, appreciate you guys that I've met you in my life, cause hey, the road that I've been, yeah, it's been tough, but yeah, man, I'm so grateful I've met you guys. Gavin, especially when I came here the first time, the way you welcomed me, I'm actually truly grateful. Ty, I've met the likes of Ty as well, so Ken right now. Yeah, I'm so super grateful, guys. So blessed, so humble for your kind words. And yeah, man, I hope you guys have a best life, moving forward, guys. We just, grow as a community, and yeah, that's all about it is like, it's all love and just, support each other and yeah, and help grow the community. So guys, please, make sure you guys subscribe, come subscribe, like, share, bring a lot of people, talk about football, and that's just how it is. Football is amazing, man. I love it. So, yeah, I just wanna thank you guys. I appreciate all the love, support, and yeah, and I'm here to support you guys as well.
Appreciate it, bro.
Well, nobody wants to say anything, so I'll just say this. Yeah, yeah. As you say, it was a good show. It was an insightful one. So it's always good to have other people giving their perspective, give their views on the respective matches that would have happened or have happened so far. Obviously, there's one match left for this match day, I believe. You can correct me if I'm wrong. So I think, yeah, in terms of the matches, there were a lot of entertaining matches. There were a lot of matches that you can consider ones that were straightforward and one that shows the fact that the Premier League is evolving.
I wanna just thank you guys for having me, And thanks for the opportunity. Yeah, that's it. And thank you for the great people watching.
Yes, guys, this is about GST Govern. It's been a while, and I really appreciate each and every one, Rich Money Maker, and everyone was in the chat. Hope you get well soon because I saw you put in there say you were ill. So, hope you get well soon. And Miss Rosie, all the support. So I want to say as we end the stream, I want to say thank you guys for always being here with us. And thank you for everyone that messaged me and asking me, why we're not doing any shows. But now we're trying to make a change. We're trying to get panelists, and we're trying to do different stuff. So I'm gonna try to at least do streams, with me, not only me, but Chelsea Session, where you guys can pick and choose which one of the channel you want to really go on. And Jersey channel or whosoever, we can add on to it. We're trying to get different stuff in the pipeline. So I want to say thank you guys for watching. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Peace.